Hello there and a very warm welcome to New Week. My name is Leangari and our sign language interpreter tonight is Josephine Ouko. Well, remember you can engage us through our social media platforms. That's TV47KE on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Tonight we're asking you this question as we also look to delve into the issue of the isolation of Deputy President William Ruto and of course the handshake, whose 2-year anniversary is today, where we are also asking you tonight, do you think the handshake has been of benefit to the country? What do you think has changed in the country ever since the handshake actually took place? And of course, we asked this question to our social media audience earlier on, and quite a number of you have a lot to say. If I can just look at here, we have Samuel Joseph. Samuel Joseph is saying, introduction of new currency and terminology, like Wanjiku. Again, the question tonight is, what do you think has changed ever since the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and the current ODM leader, that's Raila Odinga? And again, as we look at the comments here, another one here, Wilfred Rian says, Reggae ya ujinga. They are trying to destroy the son of a commoner from politics. Watching live from Zetech University main campus. Thank you so much, Wilfred. Also, we have Kimberly Shiz. Kimberly is saying, Kenya has become a disaster in the making. Also, we have Yuge. He's saying, nothing has changed so far. It's reggae everywhere instead of developments. Mombasa is watching. Good to have you, Mombasa. Also, we have Leon Flex Shazkiel, interesting name. But he says, chenye kimebadilika ni gharama ya maisha imekuwa juu. Zaidi kuliko hata hapo awali, njaa na mahangaiko kwa wananchi mlala hoi. And he says there, mabwenyenye walali hali ndio hiyo wanaraha. Well, I'll just hold it there. We have quite a number of comments and we'll be sampling them as we continue in tonight's discussion. Again, the question tonight, we're asking you, what do you think has changed ever since the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader, that's Raila Odinga? Well, the country marks indeed the second anniversary of the historic handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his then political rival. And as we see, Raila Odinga is part of this handshake, as we have seen there talking about it tonight, a political handshake that paved way for a political truce that begot a political bromance with the duo almost always reading from the same script. Well, our reporter Linda Alela traces the handshake journey and now reports on pains and gains.
Slightly before and after the 2017 elections, it was a terrific atmosphere in the country, characterized by a series of polarized moments, hate speech, and deaths purported to have been caused by the police forces upon order from the government. Peace seemed to be a game of the past. 9th of March 2018, exactly 2 years from now, remains engraved in the calendars of many Kenyans. President Uhuru Kenyatta and his then main contender, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, did the noble thing. They put aside their political differences in the best interest of the country.
Since then, we have seen a lot of peace in this country, and that is what people want, because there can be no development without peace.
This was a tremendous move that could give birth to unity and tranquility that was long desired for. A move that was highly celebrated across the globe, with leaders from other parts of the world following suit. Donald Trump of America and his counterpart Kim Jong-un of North Korea, Salva Kiir of Sudan, and his main rival Dr. Riek Machar followed. While the handshake was castigated by a majority who supported the two, a large chunk of Kenyans are thankful for the calm it brought, allowing them to conduct their businesses as usual.
As a church, we were looking for peace. We were asking for God to give a way of Kenya becoming one again so that we can move on.
Mimi nilifurahia vile walifanya kuoneshana upendo na ni vizuri.
Leader of Justice and Freedom Party, Justus Juma, still has reservations on how the handshake came about and whether it has addressed what it was meant to, amid talks of high confusion culminating from the same, especially within the Jubilee Party.
As gazetted, was an initiative meant to build bridges, and it had 9 thematic areas which it was targeted to sort out. Though the foundation of its establishment, it was established after a number of national outcry to initiate a national dialogue subsequent to the 2017 election. And as we anticipated, of course, some people hear good things, but sometimes they might implement them the wrong way, because the approach to the establishment was challenged. It had a lot of constitutional challenge. I think some parties, like Third Way Alliance, went to court, challenging the foundation or the constitutionality of its premise. But of course, the power of the presidency, the president constitutionally is allowed. He can set a commission, he can appoint, he can, through gazette notice.
Lots of questions arise on the same. Who exactly was to benefit from the handshake? Was it an outfit formed to craft Raila for presidency? Or is it meant to alter Ruto's bid to occupy State House? Or was it a way to shortchange Right Honorable Raila Odinga? Or was it a creation for President Uhuru Kenyatta to bounce back into politics as his constitutional term ends, while many argue he is still young to exit politics?
I want to tell those public officers using those offices that soon, and very soon, we will call them out. They must stop the nonsense they are engaged in of making telephone calls to people, to leaders, blackmailing people left, right, and center. If they are men enough, let them come forward and face me. Let them not hide behind shadows and behind telephone calls.
Kwa hivyo Uhuru ni system huanga ni serikali ambayo imekalia kile kiti. Kwa hivyo kama baba amekalia kile kiti ama yuko meza moja na bwana Uhuru Kenyatta, basi yeye mwenyewe kwa sasa tunavyozungumza ako ndani ya system. Kwa hivyo watu wanapoendeleza siasa za kusema kwamba amekataliwa na system, hapa sikubaliana nao, maana yeye mwenyewe kwa sasa yuatumwa na serikali kuiwakilisha kule nje, yuatumwa na serikali kwenda kuwakilisha bwana rais kwa masuala ya kisiasa, yuatumwa na rais kumsaidia kuendeleza gurudumu la siasa hapa nchini ama uongozi.
The main fruit of the handshake has been the BBI. A report that was eagerly waited for by Kenyans and highly debated upon even before the final report was presented to the public. November 2019, the report was finally released to the masses in Bomas of Kenya with the blessings of most leaders.
Just like some people are saying, BBI, somebody's dreaming, I'm going to stop it. How do you stop it?
BBI campaigns continue across the country, causing havoc amongst political leaders who differ on its execution process. Something that has raised eyebrows amongst the common mwananchi, who is left in the dark on what exactly the report holds.
Na tunataka tujisomee wenyewe, kwa sababu sasa haijafika huku mashinani, hatujajua ni nini. Sisi tunasikia tu BBI, hatujajua ni nini.
Who then is to fight for the rights of the people?
Manake sasa tutazungumzia kwamba hakuna ama kuna upungufu ama kuna ule unaitwa weakness katika upande wa opposition, kwamba ile kazi ambayo bwana Raila alikuwa anaifanya ama anaitenda kama kiongozi wa upinzani siku hizi haipo. Kwa hivyo hakuna mtu ambaye anaibua yale masuala makubwa yalikuwa yanafanyika pale mbeleni, kama vile masuala ya corruption, ufisadi na kadhalika.
Instead of rolling your sleeves and serving the citizens, what did they choose to do? They've been on campaign mode, abusing each other. Now they are coming back to the citizens as crying babies, looking for citizens to massage their mistakes that they are doing right open within our eyes, actually in the full glare of the media. You have the records of what these guys have done.
Kenyans are waiting to witness the end of this game, many of them hoping for a better Kenya. Will the BBI take us to a referendum? And will peace and tranquility be our holding force in this state of political intolerance? Linda Alela, TV 47.
Well, a story there on the famous handshake, and we will be discussing that particular story with my panel in studio. However, right now, I want us to take a look at Rwanda, where In Kenya, the government has announced a move to disseminate information on coronavirus to all mobile phone subscribers through mobile operators. In Rwanda, the government has established a multidisciplinary team led by the Office of the Prime Minister in conjunction with the Ministry of Health, local government and security organs to strengthen the country's level of preparedness of the coronavirus. From Kigali, Rwanda, now we are joined by Diana Iriza to give us more details. Diana, can you hear me? Hello, Diana, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Leah. Yes, I can hear you. It's nice to be live on TV47 tonight.
Well, Diana, just bring us up to speed. Well, we've seen there the government is taking action towards protecting the country from the coronavirus outbreak. What exactly is going on? What has the government done in Rwanda?
The government is carrying out so many measures to make sure that the coronavirus does not get into the country. And there's a term, preparedness, that is being used by a lot of blogs and media. I don't think Rwanda is preparing for the coronavirus. That would sound like as if we're anticipating for this coronavirus. However, we are carrying out very preventive measures to make sure that the coronavirus does not get to the country. And there are a lot of high-tech equipments that are being installed in airports. Medics, screen checks that are being carried out for travelers coming to the country. Traveling histories are also being put on record. We also have the Ministry of Health that is going around educating the citizens on what coronavirus really is all about, its dangers, the symptoms, and the advantages of washing their hands regularly. We also have sanitization stations that are being installed everywhere in public places like churches and bars and restaurants and different institutions to make sure that people sanitize their hands, have clean hands every time. Yeah.
Well, Diana, I just want to understand, considering that African countries are taking measures in terms of preparedness, of course, we've also seen the same case globally. What's the mood right now in Rwanda? What are guys saying about coronavirus in Rwanda?
Sorry, I didn't get you clearly. Can you repeat your question?
Of course, globally, there's preparedness from different nations. And of course, there's the feeling from different citizens about this outbreak of coronavirus in the cases where it has been reported. But I just want to understand, what's the mood like in Rwanda as regards what the citizens feel about the coronavirus?
Well, the government is carrying out now so many measures. I didn't get your question clearly, but I think you're talking about what the government is doing to make sure that the coronavirus is being prevented. We have the government department known as the Rwanda Development Board. This is a development board, an institution here in Rwanda that has carried out so many strides and highly contributed to the growth of tourism here in the country. And today it released a short notice talking about to travelers and stakeholder tourists, letting them know that Rwanda has not yet been registered as one of the countries with coronavirus cases, and all travel services and tourism services are being carried out and ongoing regularly. However, for those that would like to postpone their permits, their travel permits, travel trips to Rwanda, there's an offer for them. We have tourists who would wish to postpone park permits. People who like to postpone park permits in Rwanda, they have a period of 2 years to postpone these park permits. We also have tourists who would like to postpone their gorilla trekking for free. They also have a period of 2 years to postpone these trips, and they'll be able to consume these permits. We also have another category of people, MICE tourists, that is meetings, incentives, conference events, and they would like, who have also purchased discount permits. They also have a period of 2 years to consume and to postpone these trips. So so far that's what is being done in Rwanda, and this offer has a period of 6 months for tourists and travelers in Rwanda to be able to postpone their trips to Rwanda.
Just a final question, Dana. Considering that Kigali is known for being a hub for conferences taking place, do you think that there has been any impact in this particular coronavirus coming up globally, and of course the preparedness? Do you think this conferences or having conferences in Kigali may be affected in any way?
I can hear you clearly. Can you please come again? Sorry.
All right, I'll just repeat my question, Dan. I'm so sorry. I don't know that you can get me. But I'm saying we know that Kigali is known to be a hub for conferences taking place. The question, of course, is do you think these conferences will be affected, especially in regards to the coronavirus information coming in globally? Is there any impact that this information has had on the possibility of the conferences maybe being cut off or something like that?
I still can't hear your question. I'm sorry. You're
sincere
breaking
apologies.
Off.
I don't know. I think we're having a technical.
I can't hear
Adana,
you.
but thank you so much for bringing us up to speed with what the government in Rwanda is doing. And we hope to get in touch with you as we continue on with the week, just to find out a little bit more of what's happening in Rwanda. Thank you. That is Diana Iriza in Kigali, Rwanda, bringing us up to speed with what exactly is happening in Kigali, what the government in Rwanda is doing in preparedness, to protect the country from any possible outbreaks. Not that we are saying we're anticipating, but we are saying there has to be that action of preparedness, and she was bringing us up to speed with what exactly the government in Rwanda is doing. However, I want us to take a short break, and when we return, we go straight into tonight's discussion with my able panel in studio. They're very excited, very ready, so don't go too far. Guys, how are you feeling today? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yes, I'm excited about this.
As usual, new week. New things, great.
All right, that's my panel. I want us to take a short break. When we return, we discuss all matters, the famous handshake, and of course, the isolation of Deputy President William Ruto. Don't go too far. New week, we'll be back shortly. If you just joined us, you're watching New Week right here on TV47. My name is Leangari, and tonight we discuss quite a number of things, and we begin with a famous handshake. And I'll just introduce my panel. Right here beside me, we have Daniel Osogo, who is a political analyst.
Daniel Orogo.
Oh, sorry, Orogo. Oh my God. Sorry. So we have also Ongaya Mulobi, who is a youth leader. And also we have Rotariki. But I had to ask the editor, is that really your real name?
Yes, but
Rotariki?
it's misspelled.
Oh, really?
Rota has an H.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, but you're called Rotariki?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that kind of name. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's a diversity in Kenya.
Doesn't even sound African, by the way. But that's Rotariki. He's a political analyst. Guys, I mean, the famous handshake. So much uncertainty about what it means for the country. Let's just first look at what exactly does this handshake mean for the country at a personal level. I'll begin with you, Daniel.
Well, again, thank you for this wonderful week. And I would look at the handshake from a point of where it departed, and that means that I put it into retrospect with the objectives and what it was meant to do by that time. 9th March, of course, you and I never expected that the two leaders, protagonists in the election to 2017, were actually going to reach one another to shake hands, and it came as a surprise to everybody. 2 years ago, moving it right now, there was a déjà vu about the country having peace, after the contested repeat of election, as was, ordered by the Supreme Court. And so my expectation in the country was that this was a culmination of a relatively peaceful country, that we are going to have a country back. The economy is going to move as opposed to how it was stalled, and that we are going to see an unprecedented business environment as opposed to what we were seeing, and rather a calm and more of a political relativity and a space that was going to open up, because then the two leaders were the main contenders, the rivalry in quotes. So for me as a citizens of Republic of Kenya, and my expectation was that the two leaders, and after it was not only for peaceful, the calm, the relative calm, but then we were going to see the expansion in terms of democratic space, that now the proverbial canon, that we are going to see two leaders working together for the prosperity of the country.
So we're looking at expansion, basically social development and economic development. That was what we should actually be expecting from the handshake. Let me hear from you, Mulobi. What are your thoughts about what the handshake means for the country at a personal level?
For me, I think the handshake was a really noble idea. It was a really beautiful idea. At that particular time, as a country, we were really ailing from division, and the economy was really ailing as well, because you couldn't do business anyhow as you wanted in this part of in whatever part of the country that you are in. Maybe because of tribal lines, along tribal lines, and all that. So I think it was really a noble idea at that particular point in time, because it brought peace. The economy at least started thriving, and people started thriving even in the businesses, and there was a lot of calmness in the country. But looking at it 2 years later, I feel like we are being taken for a ride as citizens of this great nation, because when you look at the handshake, which has given birth...
Who do you think is taking us for a ride?
Really, our leaders are taking us for a ride, and we are agreeing to be taken in for a ride as the citizens, because I think we can really demand for more. And the handshake gave rise to the BBI, which apparently is a document that's supposed to bring Kenyans together, which I really think is doing more harm than good.
Why do you say more harm?
You see, the presence of peace does not really necessarily equate to the presence of unity. So there is peace in the country, but that does not mean that there's unity in the nation, because we're really having a really divided nation, and that's why we are having all political fronts right now, Tanga, Kieleweke, and if you're talking about really uniting the country, we shouldn't really be talking about politicking for 2022.
Rota, your thoughts?
I'll start by first of all sending condolences to the people of Msambweni for the loss of their very able leader. Suleiman Adori was a very good leader, and it's so sad that he has gone at that age. Secondly, to come to what you are saying of the handshake, as my colleagues have said, every one of us understand how we came up with the handshake. This country had reached a point of stalling, for lack of a better word. There was nothing that was happening. And for those two gentlemen to come out of Harambee House and do the handshake was something that all of us applauded. And when we saw that, we knew that they were for the betterment of this nation. Calm was restored, but 2 years down the line, the calm has now been, it was a calm before a storm. And it's like the plane almost stalled, but we tried to resuscitate it, and now we are heading into a storm.
When you say we're heading into a storm, what do you mean by that?
I was coming to that. If you look at what has happened after the handshake, is that they gave birth to something called BBI, which we don't understand what it is. But we go to rallies to listen to people talk about a document, non-existing document. So this birth has led to a place where people don't know what's next. During the handshake, when we asked the whole agreement in this handshake, it was never revealed. It was put under up to 2 years down the line, no one knows whether it was just a handshake or there were agreement to add to it. So in the 2 years that we've had this kind of the handshake, we've realized that there's a document that is born that we don't know, that we are being told we have to go to a referendum. So the storm we are entering into is the uncertainty to a point where we don't know whether this handshake is to stop some people from going to State House, which is undemocratic, because everyone has a right to vie. Me, myself, I can vie. It doesn't have to be that so-and-so cannot be president.
So it feels like what you're saying, Rota, is that there's probably something it's more than meets the eye. Perhaps, Daniel, do you think there's something perhaps that Kenyans do not know, an ordinary Kenyan doesn't know about this particular handshake? Something that we don't know, do you think there is?
I think to some extent, I think there's so much that is hidden under the table. But let me play the devil's advocate on this matter and say that the rebirth of the Building Bridges initiative came with a 9-point agenda. And the 9-point agenda are within the public domain, clearly spelled, and Kenyans are urged to take some time to read through. Why is the country, why is this document, the birth of the 9-point agenda that is spelled out, including the lack of, national ethos, devolution, all those things that are spelled within shared prosperity and so many other things that are there. But right now, I think there's a dispatch and there's a mismatch between the Building Bridges initiative, the noble task that was launched, and what I call the baby that we are trying to throw with the bathwater. And what I really believe is that the mercenaries has hijacked the whole Building Bridges initiative, in that we are not right now.
Who are the machinery?
I think these are the political class. And I was coming to that layer because my colleagues have mentioned it, that you see there is a genuine need to unite the country and to rethink about our nationalities. If possible, that we can, amend the constitution. And by the way, the last chapter gives us an opportunity to amend it after some years. And I'm not saying that the time is right to amend it. But what I'm saying is that there is a clause for us to begin to rethink. Building Bridges initiative offered a platform for national conversation. And what we are given to converse about right now is, if we are to mention, for example, repealing some articles, mentioning the term limit of a president, mentioning national values, that definitely has to go through a referendum. And it is there in the Constitution. My only point of departure with all of us is the fact that is it right for us to talk about the constitutional amendment? I think it is. But then, is the constitutional amendment pro-Wanjiku or pro-politicians? I think this is a matter that all of us should be speaking about. But again, lastly, as opposed to Building Bridges initiative, the handshake gave a rebirth to a number of things that we should be talking about. Mm-hmm. Remember, it gave birth to what we are really talking about, as opposed to only BBI. The Right Honorable Prime Minister is given an opportunity to be, one of the eminent persons within the continent. There is a position that is given to the Republic of Kenya. The Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka spearheading a process that right now, recently, saw the two protagonists within South Sudan shaking hands and forming the government of national unity. We are also forgetting there is a number of factors that, as opposed to only Building Bridges initiative, the handshake has given back to.
All right, Mulobi, let me ask, when you really look at the situation right now, he's mentioned the BBI as a baby that resulted from the handshake. And of course, a few sentiments from Daniel here. But what do you think about the BBI and how this is all to play out to the benefit of the country?
To be honest, I must first say that a document cannot unite this country. First of all, we need to have a really honest conversation as a nation. There are so many things that have happened in the past. We have historical injustices that really we need to solve for us to start speaking of a national conversation when it comes to unity.
But it also appears, Mulobi, that this BBI is definitely trying, as it appears, to generate that conversation. When you say that there's no conversation that is beneficial to the country. There is a conversation
that's happening, but when you look at the BBI rallies, what really happens at the BBI rallies? If this document really is supposed to be for the common good of the Mwananchi, why can't we print why can't we print copies and give to the common mananchi? Because what happens is whatever we are told by politicians in the rallies, that is what Kenyans go with. And so we really do not understand what is in the BBI report. And I really like what the Nyeri people did. They demanded and said, if we're not having physical copies, we're not going to have this meeting, we're not going to have this physical gathering. And I think as Kenyans, we really deserve to understand and to have a copy in our own hands. Some people do not even understand English. I saw the government spokesman sometimes said back, people should read this through the government website. How many people have smartphones, to be honest? So are we really lying to ourselves? When we look at the BBI rallies, we see people talking about 2022 politics. Why are we speaking about 2022 politics, yet we are talking of a document that is supposed to bring a country together? When you look at the document, some of the things that fall under the 9 points, the 9-point agenda, honestly, some of these things we know. They're written down. They're written down in several other documents. We know that we're supposed to solve some of these problems. We have the Kriegler report and so many other reports. Why can't we implement these reports as a country first before we start pushing agendas of this BBI report?
Rota, your thoughts?
Yes, I want to just interject on what my friend has said and put a clarity on something. He's talking of the Constitution giving you a room to change a constitution itself. But there are only 3 articles that allows you, there are only 3 ways. And Article 255, 256, 257. What BBI is doing is none of the 3. So we cannot go by that saying that this constitution gives us a right to change it. It's under those 3 articles, and that's where my friend can tell me which one BBI is using. Secondly, we are talking of a genuine conversation or a genuine, what you call, talk. But if you see what the rallies are doing right now, those are not talks. There's a dialogue in a forum whereby the BBI secretariat can do that. But why have billions of money to run around in those rallies? What are those rallies for? That's our take first. So
do you think it's deliberate that they've actually structured those rallies to be the way they are,
yes,
and not as a conversation?
What is happening is handshake has outlived its life. Yeah. So they are thinking of a way, and it has been overtaken by events. No one thinks about it. So to keep people on a mood of political mood, they have brought up the BBI rallies, which has now been stopped because they have realized they are not doing any better to this nation. If you genuinely want to talk, it's not through those rallies. Secondly, today, Nyeri Archbishop has said, and I'll quote, BBI is no longer about unity, as it is being used to propagate violence, fights, and hatred. The people who have now come to realize that what we are seeing on those rallies is none of Wanjiku. And the moment us as youth realize that going to those rallies to make noise is not going to solve Kenyan problems. Kenyans have big problems at being appointment to AU envoy. Okay. Our problems are within our nation, and we can solve them if we genuinely talk, not lie about talking and hiding things under the table. There's no talk whereby you hide and you tell people don't come to our rally. Rallies will never solve the problem.
I'll just give Daniel a chance.
I finished the other one. We are talking about what the BBI is talking about. If you check all those things within BBI, we've had constitution, what we call the Ndungu report, all those reports. If we can genuinely help these countries go back to our shelves where we put those things and remove those reports and implement them, all Kenyan problems will be solved. We've been talking all the time about having a constitutional whatever we call them, bodies to talk. People come there, they give their views, it's taken to a shelf. And Leah, if you'll be here with me, BBI report will go the same way. We'll be in 2022, we'll again have another election with a political party maybe called BBI, our problems will continue.
All right, Daniel, what do you think?
Well, the leaders of the Third Way Alliance had actually put a petition before the court to compel the court to stop the BBI, and it was dismissed, and the judge gave its ruling. And so any Kenyan who really feel that these rallies or anywhere is not really fitting public interest, I think there are avenues to despise this. But again, what I really want to highlight is the fact that a national conversation must begin with the leadership. and even the citizens. And that is why, and I like the question that you asked us as we were opening the discussion. From the footage that the wonderful station did, was just to report the progress. Why are we where we are? And all of us acknowledged why it was important for us to have a truce. And truce was not a come from anywhere else. It's the two leaders who had to meet and spell out how we're gonna go through that direction. So I am wondering, that's why I say I'm playing a devil's advocate, that I'm wondering why then as leaders, and I've championed for the agenda of BBI, and everybody feeling that is left out. We've had rallies, and we've had rallies in different counties, and no, in all those countries that we've gone, it's only these few countries that can be mentioned where there was violence, and you can actually trace how the violence came to be in these rallies. And it's clear, it's within the public domain, it's within the media. And nobody should actually be thrown out of any rallies for any reasons. But again, if you go to any rally to begin to perpetuate violence and to call for disruption of some people as they speak, and I think you are also perpetuating violence and not for the purpose that you know. So for me as a citizen, I'll go back to the question that we are asked. If we were to rate, where is the direction of building bridges initiatives? Where is the direction of handshake? I will clearly and confidently point the 9-point agenda. If we are sticking, as a citizens, that is the savior. If we feel that there are a number of hearings, there are a number of files that are gathering dust, the Ndungu report, the Kiumi reports, the TJRC reports, they are there, and I can confidently say they are there. It is upon Kenyans to begin to compel their national leaders to converse through this report. But there must be a political goodwill to discuss.
As I listen to all of you speak, we've established, yes, the BBI is a baby born from the handshake. And of course, you have a lot of your reservations about what the BBI really means for the country. Of course, listening to you, Mulobi and Rota. And of course, a bit about you, Daniel. You're playing the devil's advocate, but I'm not too sure where you lie, But what is coming out is that you don't see the value of the handshake. But let's also try and see, are there any achievements, anything good that came from the handshake? Let's start with you, Rota.
I think when we are talking here, no one is saying handshake has not helped. If you had my first statement when I started, it said that it brought peace, the country was coming to a stall.
And I remember Mulobi went ahead and said peace does not translate to
I was
unity.
coming to that.
But let's hear from you.
It doesn't translate to wherever you want to think it will, but it gives you a platform and an environment where you can grow or you can establish from where you are. And handshake was really a good thing until we were not given much of the information about the handshake. People started being as not sure of what to expect from this handshake. And these are political leaders who have political interest. And the moment you don't show all that you've agreed or you don't give it to the public starts having a misconception that you are planning to remain in power or you are planning to get to power. And that's where that suspicion started. And that suspicion is now what has grown to this kind of where we are. The handshake brought fight against corruption. True, it brought some kind of leadership. But what it did, which was negative, was killing the opposition. The moment you have your politicians in one basket, be very, very scared.
But even as you talk about what looks like the absence of the opposition, before, not too long ago, ODM leader Raila Odinga was actually the greatest critic of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Right now, he's almost appearing to be the chief defender. So what really are we not seeing there? Mulobi, I'll leave that question to begin with you.
As I said, he talked about the gains. And for me, I think it's really sad that as a country we do not have an opposition, because the opposition really helps us to watch over what the government is doing and to really hold them to account. And so right now, when things happen, we see more like.
But don't you think that the Third Way Alliance right now is positioning itself as the opposition?
He'll probably tell
Daniel
us.
does not agree.
I'm coming to talk about that.
That's what I'm saying. Our notion about this country, about opposition politics, is just way above what we understand. Leah, I think we should begin to talk about having minority and majority in the parliament to provide checks and balances in the government. You know, each and every time I hear people saying that opposition was dead, and I remember asking this, if Raila Odinga and all other presidential candidates that ran against Uhuru Kenyatta, it's not only him who lost. Like you've said, Third Way Alliance was in the ballot. Other people were in the ballot. Why would they not provide checks and balances? The only problem we have is always thinking that, you see, the death of opposition
it's not coming from ODM.
It's not coming from ODM, it's not coming from other political leaders. And when you come to opposition, it's definitely providing an alternative to the government.
No, not really, Leah.
Let me just have my question. I'm from
Let's allow the lady to respond.
Let me just say something. I think when you're talking about opposition, we're not refusing the fact that we have seen so many people come out and even take matters to court. You've seen Okia Omtata and so many other people just coming out and defending matters of public interest. Yes, but we're asking how many people, you know, again, the politics of this country, to be honest, let's just to be honest about ourselves, about this. The politics about this country is not really about, it's about how many people, how many people do you command? What following do you command, really? So I think when we're talking about
there's no opposition without great following? Is that what you're saying?
Not really, but I'm just saying, I'm admitting to the fact that this is the situation that we are in as a country. Sadly, it is. But we are having great people who are coming out to call out the government for the wrong things that they're doing. But the saddest thing about this is that BBI brought together the political class, apart from sidelining a certain sect of politicians that we know.
Let's just pick up a call. There's Thomas Otieno who is online right now. Hello, Thomas. Well, we seem to have lost him, and we hope he'll call again. With Thomas Otieno, if you are able to, you can call us once again and make your contribution to tonight's discussion. However, let me just go straight to you, Rota.
Yes, I'll just give a revert to what my friend has said. When I talk about opposition being taken into government, as a Third Way Alliance, we still have the opposition, and we go, and the other day we took BBI to court. What I'm talking about, we have a minority leader who is paid by the taxpayers' money to put checks on the government. The minority leader in both Parliament and Senate is acting as the government. That's what I'm talking about. They are paid by our money to be the minority leader, and their work cannot entail championing government. We pay them. Ours as opposition in Third Way Alliance, we do it out of our will. We went to court against BBI, although we lost. We've proposed Punguza Mzigo, which we went all around to collect signatures. That is what we call opposition, not going opposition outside Parliament. But what we are calling today, where we are saying the handshake has killed, is where we have a minority leader we are paying for and being the government.
Let's take Winnie from Eldoret and just hear what she has to say. Hello?
Hello.
Winnie, hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Well, just tell us exactly what your contribution is tonight.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, Winnie.
I wanted to contribute about political analysis.
Go ahead.
This handshake, it's really not a good si kitu mzuri. Atufurahi, mali inatuelekeza ni mali mbaya sana.
All right, why do you think so, by the way? Hello? Winnie, are you there?
Kugawanisha sana.
Okay. Thank you so much, Winnie, for your contribution. Winnie from Eldoret there says she doesn't think the handshake is good for the country. Na venye amesema kwa Kiswahili inatugawanyisha. It's creating divisions in the country. Daniel.
That's what the politicians are telling the citizens that's the opinion. We as leaders, that is why I said, wherever we want to converse about the handshake and its benefits, when we are having challenges as a country and all those things that we've gone through, the question that you asked, what is this thing that we have? What is the advantage of it? And Leah, whether citizens, you see what is currently happening is this is now the state-sponsored initiative. And from all the organizations that you could see, it's purely that it's even funded from the exchequer, the way my colleague has talked about. And to the point that now as citizens, we should actually be looking at it at a critical point, because unless we are able to marginalize numbers and refuse it totally and say this is not something that we cannot listen to it, but at the moment is like the reality is that we really need to converse about it.
All right.
What is the agenda about it?
Okay.
So for the opposition, I would say the moment you talked about opposition, if we think that some political parties or people with a huge following are no longer holding government in check, it still goes back to the parliament.
All right, let us just take a break, Daniel. When we return, we'll still look at that issue and give you an opportunity to continue with your point. However, New Week wants indeed to take a short break. Don't go too far. Remember, you can also engage us through our social media platforms. That's TV47KE on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Tell us also where you are writing to us from, and also use the hashtag New Week. Let's take a short break. Don't go too far. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching TV47, and this is New Week, your favorite, by the way, current affairs program. And my name is Lengari. Remember, you can send us your views and comments through our social media platform. That's TV47KE on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I just want to sample some of your comments. Earlier on, as we began the show, we say that we were asking the question of what you think are the gains or what has changed since the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga. And we have here quite a number of comments. Lugaka Lonik, you're saying that nonsense has always been there. Well, apologies for the French, but that nonsense has always been there. The 2008 one brought positive peace. This one of the dynasties brought negative peace. Anything can happen anytime. Corrupt leaders are spared if only you support it. Also, we have Eric Makakiage. He's saying Kenya iko tamu sana, no strikes. so we can all work in harmony. Good one. Also, we have Hillary Chirchir. Hillary is saying a lot has changed. Also, Tobias here, Okere is saying Amina na kupunguza ufisadi 78%. We have very many comments from many of you who are writing to us through our social media platforms, and of course through our messages. And gentlemen and ladies, I was just about to say ladies and gentlemen, but before we took a break, we were looking at the fact that we almost appear like we don't have an opposition. Of course, there was that question where I asked, isn't the Third Way Alliance an opposition right now? But I have a question for you, Rota. It appears that there's cracks in Third Way Alliance. Do you think it can actually stand as a very formidable opposition in the country?
I think that if you've been following the cracks that emerged in Third Way Alliance, they are idea-based. There's a faction within the NEC that felt that Punguza Mzigo should go under BBI. And there's a faction that feels we need to maintain the Punguza Mzigo. But because there's a court case on this, I don't know to what extent we can talk about it, because the group that already is in court challenging some of those issues that were raised in the NEC. But as a political party, we that is run democratically, we believe that all those people who had the contrary opinion concerning the Punguza Mzigo have the right of saying what they want to say. But unfortunately, it ended up in some of them being ejected.
All right. Let me just cut you short, Rote. Sorry about that. But I just want to speak up a phone call from Joseph and just hear what Joseph has to say. Joseph, if you can hear me. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Joseph. How are you?
Hi.
What is your contribution tonight?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me, Joseph?
Yes, I'm Joseph from Nakuru.
All right. So, what's your contribution tonight?
Okay, nilikuwa nataka kucontribute kuhusu BBI.
Okay, endelea.
Sawa, nilikuwa nasema kwa wale ambao wanasema kwamba BBI mimi naionelea kwamba manake tunafanya kazi bila tashwishi, na tena inatufanya tukiingia kwa kile kabila bila kubopa. Kwa hizo wale ambao wanatugawanyisha ione kana kwamba imetawanyika, ile hali imetuweka katika njia nzuri ya na
well, we must apologize. We're not able to hear Joseph from Nakuru very clearly. But Joseph from Nakuru, thank you so much for calling in and giving us your contribution. We apologize that our sound is not so good, so we cannot hear you very well. But thank you for making time to make your contribution tonight. I just want us to jump into something else right now. Of course, the Deputy President, William Ruto, feels this handshake. You know, it's driven towards, you know, making sure it blocks him from any pursuit he has towards the presidential seat. Right now, he appears to be isolated. Do you think he stands to come out of this isolation as it appears right now, Rote?
First of all, my main point of disagreement with the Vice President or the Deputy President is that if you hear all his talks is about being the President, being stopped from being the President, I think the only people who can make you President in this country are the voters. So he should not come out to tell us that he's being blocked from being the President. Let him go out to campaign. If he's clean, if people love him, they'll vote for him. But all the time coming out and crying like a crying baby, and yet he's the Deputy President of this nation, what about some of us who are just a nobody? Because as a second in command, he has almost, the presidency is one. So every time he says they are against us, he needs to tell us who these are who are trying to block him from being the president. And why is he focused on being the president?
But you see, in this case, perhaps blocking in this case of what we have seen, there's been what almost appears like a smear campaign. We're not too sure what to call it, but it appears that way. He has been almost branded as a very corrupt man. Yeah, and at a time when we are trying to fight corruption in the country. Rota, what do you think about this?
I think in politics, that kind of campaign is always there. Opponents try to make you look as bad as they can.
So he should just weather through the opposition?
Yes, he needs to tell us his good side. He doesn't need to tell us focusing
your thoughts about it?
Well, it's true that as we can see from what we can see, it's clear that he's sidelined, or he's being sidelined from literally almost everything. You can see certain functions or directives being given to certain officials, and they're probably just overlooking him. At some point, I feel pity for him, but then it's the Kenyan politics setting that we are in, and it's sad that it's now all of a sudden it's just Ruto and his allies who are most corrupt, as if we are not having people in this simply because maybe they're singing to the tune of BBI. Now they are white as snow, and so we see so many people who have corruption. Not even to go far. Recently we saw Governor Sonko and the impeachment and all that, and since he started singing to BBI, then all of a sudden we are just seeing the functions have been transferred to the national government with no consultation. Yes, it is in the law, but I mean, at least we need to have some consultation.
Daniel,
so,
what do you think?
Well, I think I agree to some extent with what my colleagues have said. Ruto appears to be isolated. And for me, I think this is the making of William Ruto, the president. And for me, it's the state is really working to make him, to make him earn sympathy votes for nothing.
Yeah.
For
so
me,
you think this is just in a bid to get sympathy votes?
For me, if this is the calculation that because
how about the fears that there's been speculation that his life might be under threat?
You see, and I like what my colleague talked about. Ruto, the deputy president, is within the presidency, and he has all the intels and the information of what is definitely the boss is entitled to. Yeah. So wherever he speaks, then he probably is speaking about something he knows. So I think that was serious mistake from his end and his advisors, for him to go out and say, I know what they are planning. Yet you are part of the executive. You sit at the National Security Council.
Before my director actually tells me to close the show.
But again, apart from the DP, what we should be talking about is what is the institutions of political parties. Because for me, as a Kenyan and as a youth, I would want to, have my place in the political parties. Failure to which, if the deputy president within the Jubilee party is crying foul, then all the mercenaries of Jubilee Party and what is entitled to, what is the fate of young people who are actually looking forward to also becoming people within the Jubilee Party? And I wish we could have time to talk about the third way next time.
All right, I just have one last question, if my director will allow me. You know, it appears that the ODM leader, Raila Odinga, is enjoying a brotherhood that the deputy president previously enjoyed, right? Is there a possibility that Raila is being groomed by the president to become his heir in 2022? Let's begin with you, Rota, but briefly.
Zero chance. If you see what is playing out right now is immediately after the election of 2017, the country had reached a point where we were going to stall, as I'd said, and things were not going to work. And what the president saw was to tame Raila, and he did it. If he didn't tame him, he would be out of the presidency right now. The country will have been in a mess. And to show that he wants this thing to last, he's trying to put himself as a brother to Raila.
Mulobi, quickly.
My thoughts are, to be honest, I don't think so. I don't think Raila is being groomed. As of now, as it stands, I'd say, even with how the media is coming out to just, Ruto's name is mentioned literally everywhere. And as we might think that we are tainting his image and all that, we are actually putting something in people's minds. And you know, in politics, there's no negative publicity. Publicity is publicity.
Daniel,
so
quickly.
Uhuru needs Raila more than Raila needs him right now, like he's talked about. If it's not, the arithmetic is not going to work out, and I think I should face a camera and say that
face that camera.
In 2022, watch out for Ruto-Raila alliance if things stand constant as we speak.
All right.
But if the handshake is going to get betrayed, then there is a possibility of the rift and the Nyanza coming together and trying to teach some political lessons.
All right, thank you so much.
The factors remain
thank you so much. Daniel Orogo here, political analyst. Rota Riki, political analyst, and also we have Ongaya Mulobi. Guys, I will invite you again for a discussion next time, and I'm really, really happy that you came over. Of course, today we had quite a lot of feedback from most of you who are watching, and someone here, Eric Makiage, says Kenya iko tamu sana, no strikes, so we can all work in harmony. We also have here Wilfred Rianze saying Reggae Ujinga, they are trying to destroy the son of a commoner from politics, watching live from Zitech University main campus. We also have Kimberly Shees, who is saying Kenya has become a disaster in the making. Again, those are comments that are coming in a response to the question we asked earlier on, where we asked you what you think has changed after the famous handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga. Well, thank you so much for watching tonight. My name is Leangari, and our sign language interpreter tonight has been Josephine Ouko. Thank you again. The conversation does not end here. You can continue writing to us and engaging us through our social media platforms. That is TV47KE on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. My director is quite funny. Well, have a good night and God bless.